Coming up on today's show, Aerosoft giving Ecuador some attention with their release of Approaching Quito. One for the X-Plane fans, Dye Media releasing the Bucharest scenery. And ORBX finally releasing the Stockholm Arlanda scenery. All this and more on March's edition of SIMCAST. Hello and welcome to episode 3 of SIMCAST. In this episode we'll be covering all of the flight simulation news that has happened in the month of February 2016. As far as news goes, February has been a little less intense than January, however there is still an interesting lineup of things to talk about. And of course we have the giveaway from last month, and as always at the end I will be answering your questions. So sit back, relax, grab yourself a beverage of choice and grab yourself some snacks and enjoy this month's episode of SIMCAST. So it seems Aerosoft have ventured down to Ecuador with their release of the old Quito airport. Now although this airport is no longer in service, it closed in 2013, February the 19th. The fact that they've decided to release the scenery is actually pretty cool. For those of you that have watched me for the longest of time, I used to make a series called the Challenging Approach series. And Quito was always on my list of things to do, however we just never really had any decent scenery for it. The challenging thing about Quito is that it is 8,700 feet above sea level. That mixed with the mountainous terrain is exactly what makes it a challenging approach. Sadly, as I said, it was taken out of service in 2013. They wanted to expand, and due to the area around it, they weren't able to do so. So what they essentially did was close that airport, and they made a new one. Admittedly, I still haven't picked this scenery up, but I plan on doing so. The preview screenshots of it look absolutely amazing. And then with that purchase, I think it's time to reboot the Challenging Approach series. Next up, Dye Media releasing their Bucharest scenery for X-Plane 10. Finally, X-Plane actually has a featured article in it. It's taken almost 3 months. Now the great thing about developing X-Plane scenery is that you can pretty much get away with most things. You're not limited to memory and other things. And Dye Media have definitely taken advantage of this. Again, it's not a scenery that I have, but I've asked around the people that already have it, and they say it's absolutely fantastic. Just to pick a few things from the feature list, they obviously have photorealistic ground textures, lots of buildings, high quality, high textured, high modelled terminals and buildings. They also have custom taxiways with the actual specific lights that the airfield uses. They've also added volumetric 3D grass, they've added local vegetation, they've added a bunch of static aircraft and also some static vehicles. They've also modelled the local town, local lights, buildings, supermarkets, gas stations, there's even a bar. And they've also made it compatible with Jar Design's Follow Me car, which I actually have used and it's very, very useful. You can grab yourself a copy of the Bucharest scenery from their site and it costs only €14. Absolute steal. In at just $25 is the scenery that I've been waiting for the last month and a half. It's the ORBX Stockholm Arlanda scenery. Now Sweden has been missing a high detailed, high fidelity version of their Stockholm scenery for an absolute decade. And ORBX have come along and given Sweden just that. It's an absolute work of art. I've had the scenery since it came out and I've probably flown there now maybe 20 or 30 times, and each time it doesn't get any less impressive. They have modelled absolutely everything that you could possibly want from an airport, including that 747 hotel which is just parked south of the apron. Now, as far as performance goes, personally, I've had no issues whatsoever. It runs just as well as most of my sceneries, apart from Heathrow, because, well, Heathrow. VAS seems to be good, everything seems to be good, it looks good, it performs good, it's absolutely beautiful. and it's $25. Perfect price point for the perfect product. Can't really say much more about it. Go get it. Enjoy Sweden. Okay, now it's time for the quickfire news. This month there is approximately 40 pieces of news to get through, which versus last month's 70 seems like a breeze. So, without further ado, let's get on with it. Kickstarting the month, Aerosoft announces the development of the start of their ORBX scenery. February the 2nd, New Scenery Studio releases their Verona, and also SSG announces their Embraer 170LR for X-Plane 10. Moving on to February the 3rd, FS Design Group, or Flight Sim Design Group, announced Graz, and Quality Wings announced that their 757 is now P3D version 3 compatible. Nothing for the 4th or the 5th, but on the 6th, Imagine Sim announced that they are developing Changi, and Sim Design Group released the Service Pack 2 for their version 2 of Cairo. Nothing on the 7th, however, starting off the second week in February, RF Scenery Building announced the development of Florence. Nothing on the 9th, but on February the 10th, Aerosoft announcing the starting of development of Napoli, and Mega Scenery Earth releasing the photorealistic Connecticut 4X scenery. February the 11th, 4 bits of news from you. AA Sceneries giving us some Terminal 2 previews of Beijing. Flightbeam give us a development status update. Milviz releasing the F100D Super Sabre. And Tabaret releasing their New Zealand terrain mesh. Nothing on the 12th, 13th, 14th, however on the 15th, Azora Files released their Vega Reloaded version 2. 5 bits of news for you on the 16th, Alabeo with their Piper Aztec PA-23 was released. Also Jetstream Designs released the 1.2 update for Marseille. Latin Wings announced the Requena Airport. And Spike Productions, never heard of these guys before, released a Piper Warrior PA-28. Finishing off the 16th, Virtual Col released a Cessna T303 Crusader. February the 17th, Aerosoft announced the development of their new Bali scenery, and Fly Tampa, making the most epic typo of Schiphol, released an Amsterdam preview in 4K for us. Nothing on the 18th, however on the 19th, Aerosoft released some previews of the Turbo Porter 4X. I cannot wait for that aircraft. And BDO Aviation announced the development of Liège, Belgium. February the 20th, Milviz gave us some more previews of the C-130J, and Richard Nunes, or Nunez, I think, I don't really know how you pronounce that, released his Santos Dumont scenery for X-Plane 10. Moving on to the last week in February, more Chisinau previews, and TSS released their Feel the Embraer 175 sound pack. Does anyone even use that Wilco Embraer anymore? February the 22nd, ORBX announced the Goirala Bush pack, if that's how you pronounce that. On the same day, Tabaret released some 3D night lights for central China. February the 23rd, Captain Sim releasing their version 1.7 update for the 777. Caronado releasing the SR22 for X-Plane 10. And a really exciting bit of news from ORBX. They announced the development of their new Melbourne scenery. They're starting from scratch. February the 24th, Airfoil Labs, the guys that made the Cessna 172 and X-Plane, are now making a Beechcraft King Air 350. Azora Files gave us some Almaty previews, and the Just Flight F4U1 Corsair Birdcage was released. Nothing on the 25th, however on the 26th, Caronado announced the start of development on their PA-46 Meridian, and Jar Designs posted a random virtual cockpit render of something that looks similar to an A340. Moving on to the 27th, Imagine Sim gave us some LaGuardia previews. On the 28th, FS2 Crew announced that they were releasing a Q400 special bundle pack. And then to end the month with 2 bits of news, FSim Studios gave us previews of their Toronto City scenery and announced that it's now in beta. And to finish off the month, Rotate Sim with their MD-80 1.1 update. Okay, with all the news out the way, now it's time for the moment that most of you have been waiting for, the giveaway. Now this month's giveaway comprised of some epic add-ons, so if you are the lucky winner, you will receive a copy of the FS Labs Concorde X, you will receive a copy of the Latin Wings Valencia X, you'll also receive ORBX's Megsfield, and finally a copy of Realair's Lancer Legacy V2. That's essentially over $250 worth of add-ons. Now this month, 7,738 people entered. I said this last month, but I'll say it again. If you win this, I want you to put my lottery on for the foreseeable future. So, without further ado, the winner of February's SIMCAST giveaway is Zachary Kaiser. I really hope I pronounced that right. Zachary, congratulations, you have won all of the listed add-ons that I just mentioned. I will be in touch with you from Monday onwards with instructions of how you can redeem your prizes. Once again, thank you for supporting and taking part, and I hope that you utilize those add-ons to their fullest potential. Now, on to the giveaway for episode number 3. As always, the giveaways in SIMCAST work with the top featured articles. The featured articles for this month, which will be available for this month's giveaway, are as follows. 1 copy of Aerosoft's Approaching Quito, 1 copy of Dye Media's Bucharest scenery, and also a copy of ORBX's Stockholm Arlanda scenery. Now, if you want to be in with a chance to win all of those products, the same as last month, the link will be in the video description below. The competition will end midnight before the next SIMCAST goes live. As always, good luck and thank you for taking part. Okay, now it's time for the Q&A session. I took 5 questions at random from the last month's episode to answer in this month's episode, and of course if you want to get your questions featured on next month's episode of SIMCAST, then all you need to do is ask a question in the comment section below the video, and if you can do me a huge favour, if it is something that you want to be answered in SIMCAST, just stick hashtag SIMCAST on the end of your question or at the beginning, then it's easier for me to filter through. So, the first question comes from a guy called Aviation Central. Well, hello Aviation Central, nice name. Hello Matt, what is your full setup, joystick, panels, monitors, blah blah blah. Okay, so I essentially have a Chill Blast Fusion Nimbus PC. Now you can find the specs of that in the video description below. I'll link you directly to it. It's one of my custom built Chill Blast PCs with a few tweaks. I've added a few things to it, but that's just because I have to make videos with it and I need the extra storage. As far as monitors go, I have a Acer XB270HU. That's 165Hz 1440p IPS panel. I have one of those, and then I have 2 other 144Hz monitors either side that are 1080p. I use a Thrustmaster Warthog or Cytec X55 for my joystick, depending on what mood I'm in, and I also have the MFG Crosswind rudder pedals. As far as my mouse and keyboard, or keyboard and mouse goes, I use a Corsair K95 RGB, that's a mechanical keyboard, and I also use a Final Mouse. It's actually called a Final Mouse. Next question comes from Virtual Flying, or Grant as he would like to be known. Hello Grant. He asks, what is your view on software pirating for FSX and P3D? Well, if you discuss piracy, as in you actively promote piracy on any of my channels, then you will instantly be banned. So if that doesn't tell you what I think about it, then I don't know what does. Regardless of whether you're stealing from developers or whichever way you look at it, I mean, some things really aren't worth the money, and I get that people are drawn to piracy because of bad products. That aside, and the fact that it is obviously massively wrong, it's massively damaging to the economy that we have as a whole. Like, flight simulation as a whole is very small, and the more we take out of it for free, and the more we don't give back to the developers that make the add-ons that we all love, the more it's going to damage us in the future, because they will ultimately not be able to live, to pay the bills, and this, that, and the other, and they'll go under, and then we won't have anything. A prime example of this was a couple of months ago, a company called Earth Simulations. They made the Isle of Man scenery. They also made some Guernsey scenery, I think, as well. It's photorealistic, but with a lot of objects, and it was absolutely amazing. And now they don't exist. They went bust. Now, I don't know if it's to do with piracy, but rumour has it they went under because they couldn't quite simply afford the right protection for their products. So people were just pirating it, and they were losing massive amounts of revenue, and then they went under, which is really tragic. So, I get that people will torrent, people will pirate. I'm not naive, I'm not stupid, I know people do it, but just don't bring it to me. If you're going to do it, you're going to do it. It's one of those things that no matter how much you preach about it, people will still do it, because some people just don't like parting with money. It's that simple. Moving on. Next question coming from James Lynch. Hello there, James. He says, do you think you'll ever do any military flights in videos such as DCS? It's a very good point. On my YouTube and on my Twitch as well, I've kind of backed myself into a corner where all people now know me for and watch me for is the fact that I fly planes. And I have been stuck in this rut of FSX, P3D, and X-Plane for quite some time, and I've always wanted to diversify. So at some point this year, I am going to take the plunge, and I am going to start putting out more content of different simulators. It will always be simulators, it will just be a different type of simulator. For example, DCS military. I want to get into train sim because I really want to understand the mechanics of trains. I also want to understand the mechanics of how trucks work, which is why I'm going to turn to Euro Truck Simulator, and also American Truck Simulator. Whether I'll make those in a new channel or I'll put them up very infrequently on the main channel, I'm not quite sure. But you will see a variety of content from me over the coming months. Now, whether people will like that or not, I'm yet to discover. Let's just hope that people continue to watch. We'll see how it goes. Life's all about taking risks, eh? Next question coming from Aaron Chieng. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm sorry if it's not. He asks, what is your current view on IVAO versus VATSIM? I've been asked this question 1,000,001 times, and the answer will always be the same. They both have their pros and they both have their cons. You have VATSIM, which has at the moment the best ATC software. You have IVAO, which at the moment has the best pilot software with the model matching and all of that stuff. Then you have VATSIM, which has the absolute rubbish voice codec, and IVAO has the best voice codec, and this, that, and the other. But if you are putting it down to the better network, there really isn't one. They both do the exact same things, just in slightly different ways, and I have enjoyed both networks in the past and will continue to do so in the future. Last question coming from Varun Solanki. I don't know how you pronounce that. I'm sorry. Again, when you post a question, you should just always leave your name in phonetic so I can get it right. But anyway, Varun says, hey Matt, nice video. I wanted to ask, how many people send you friend requests? How many people abuse you on social networks? And how many people do you ban, block on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook? Interesting question, and I'm not sure why I'm answering this, but hello, I'm an open book, and I guess I don't mind. So I'll be honest with you. My personal Facebook has over 3,000 requests on it that I just ignore. I've had them building up basically ever since I started YouTube and Twitch, so what, 2.5 years ago? And it will stay at 3,000 plus, and it will grow and grow and grow. I just don't add people to my personal Facebook account because I don't use it. All I do with my personal Facebook account is just manage my actual main page, the page that everyone posts on. So I don't know why I would need to add people to, my personal Facebook account. You can message me on my main Matt Davis Facebook account. I get the messages just as instantly as if you had it on my personal Facebook account. So I don't understand why people want to add me on my personal account. It's a bit strange. Second part to your question, abuse on social networks. Well, that happens all the time. Pretty much probably as I'm making this video, there will be some keyboard warrior sat in the background saying something or another. And you just get thick skin over the years, so you just, yeah, you just deal with it. But on a daily basis, I probably get somewhere between 20 and 30 really quite toxic messages sent my way, but I have filters on all of my channels that catch them so the public don't get to see them, and then I just remove them as and when I need to. Which also ties in with your third part of the question, which is how many people do I ban and block on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook? I am going to take a guess between 5 and 10 people a day get banned, blocked, or removed from Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook, just because there's only really so much toxic behavior I can take from one person. And once it starts getting to a level where people really start to hate you just because you're not responding and reacting to how they would like you to, it's time to get rid of that person. And that happens anywhere between 5 and 10 times a day, so it is what it is. At the moment, you'll see some of my videos are getting disliked a lot, as in there's like maybe 100 or so dislikes on each video. That's just one person that got banned for being incredibly toxic, and they are now going out of their way to try and personally attack me. They're trying to get into all of my accounts and, you know, trying to essentially steal stuff from me and this, that, and the other. And that's the sort of stuff you have to deal with when you're in the public domain. But it's a thick skin thing. You just get past it and you get through it, and it is what it is. And, you know, they'll either get bored and leave, or they'll do something they'll regret and they'll end up in massive trouble. So that is pretty much answering all 3 parts of your question. Okay, so that concludes episode number 3, March's edition of SIMCAST. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any suggestions, any comments, or anything you would like to ask, then please do so in the comments below. Thank you for the support once again. It's always appreciated. And good luck with the giveaways. Until the next episode, I bid you all farewell. Take care and bye-bye.